to 9th and 10th channel of BYJU'S. I'm your teacher Ankita and I welcome you in today's very special session. In today's session, we will be discussing about the whole chapter in just under 15 minutes. So please make sure to stay with us till the end. And the chapter that we'll be discussing, of course, is the name of very important chapter from the class 9th biology, and it's the fundamental unit of life. It's very important, so let's quickly get started. We're starting with the cell history. When we talk about the cell history, we go back into the time when the first cell was discovered. It was discovered by Robert Hooke in the year 1665. It's a very important here, so please make sure to remember it. But the cell that he discovered, right, or he saw, was a dead cell. Later, of course, we have Leeuwenhoek, who saw the first living cell. This is super important. Then we have the cell theory. Now, the cell theory has three important postulates given by the three very important scientists. We have the names, we have Schwann, Sheldon, and we have Rudolf Virchow. So remember the postulates. So Schwann and Sheldon gave the cell theory, and they have the two important postulates, which were that all the living organisms are made up of cells and that cells are the structure and the fundamental unit of life. Later, Rudolf added a very important point stating that all the cells, it comes, right, from the pre-existing cells. So these are the three important points that we have in the cell theory. So please make sure to remember all of these points and the name of the scientist. Now we have talked about the cell history, right? Let's understand that why we call cell as the structural and the fundamental unit of life, or why they are really very important. Let's understand what are their functions. When we talk about the cells, they perform various important functions to keep all the living organisms living. First, of course, they help in the obtaining of the food, utilization of the nutrition, production of the energy, removal of the waste, and so much more. So inside a cell, what we have is a series of a chemical reaction that is happening continuously so that we can call ourselves living. We obtain nutrition, we have the digestion process, there's a production of the energy, removal of the waste, and various other important processes. That is a very important functions. All of these are very important functions of the cells, and this is a reason why we call cell as the structural and the fundamental unit of life. It's because of the cell that we all living organisms are actually living. So do remember the important functions of the cell. Moving further, when we talk about, right, we have different types of organisms. Now, we have two different types. We have unicellular and multicellular. Now, the word uni over here means single cell. So, if there's only one cell that can easily perform all of these functions, we call it as a unicellular organism, and we have the easiest example for it for all of us to remember, and the example is amoeba. So in unicellular organism, we just have one single cell organism, and in multicellular organism, we have the cells which are more than two. When these cells will be combining together, of course, they'll be forming the multicellular organisms altogether, and of course, we are the example of it. So we will be learning ahead in the next chapter that how the cells comes together and form the tissues. Tissues comes together from the organs comes together from the organ systems, and ultimately the organism. So we have two different types of organisms. We have unicellular organisms like amoeba, multicellular organisms like humans. So do remember this. Now that we are clear, we have different types of organism based upon the number of the cells that they have. We will be discussing more further about the different types of cells, right? And in this particular chapter, we'll be taking a look at the cell components, and we will be discussing about the types of the cell. So we are clear about the types of organisms. Now quickly, let's take an understanding and let's understand more about the types of cells. So we have two different types of living cells, right, when we talk about it. We have prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Now prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells are the cells which does not have the genetic material inside a membrane. We have the example of the bacteria, and we call those cells as the prokaryotic cells. It's a very important thing for all of us to remember, the very important difference that we have between the prokaryotic and the eukaryotic. So in prokaryotic, of course, the genetic material is freely suspended in the cytoplasm of the cell, and we have the example for that is the bacteria. And then, of course, we have the eukaryotic cells. Over here we have, and eukaryotic cells are the cells that have the genetic material intact inside a membrane. That is, of course, we have in us, in plants, which type of cells we have? We have the eukaryotic cells. So there are two different types of cells. We have prokaryotic cells and the eukaryotic cells. So remember that. Now we'll be going further and discussing the cell components. So here, let's talk about the cell component. The first important cell component that we have is the cell membrane. So cell membrane, of course, right, is the outer barrier that we have, right? It is the outer membrane that actually separates the internal environment from the outside environment. And inside this only, we have all the important cell organelles. All the components of the cell are present inside the cell membrane. This is very, very important. When we talk about the cell membrane, right, it actually helps in the transportation. In that also we have two different types of transportation. We have active transportation, which requires the energy, and then we have the passive transportation, which does not require the energy. Under that we have diffusion and osmosis. So let's quickly understand what is diffusion and what is osmosis. Diffusion is nothing when we will see the molecules of water and in the gas, right, what we saw, the liquid and the gas, where we will see the molecules moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. We call it as a diffusion. Whereas osmosis is the movement of the water, specifically of the water from the higher concentration to the lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Now let's understand about this word semi-permeable. Semi-permeable over here means that only few molecules will be able to move through it, right? It's semi-permeable, right? So in a case of the osmosis, of course, the water molecules will be able to move through it, right, based upon the solute and solvent concentration. The solvent, of course, is the water, and solute could be like salt or the sugar. So when we add these into the water, definitely the concentration is changing, and it will be, if we have a membrane of that, the movement that we are seeing, we'll see the movement happening. Now, based upon that, we have different types of solutions, right? And that actually moves based upon the concentration that we have. We have hypertonic solution, where of course the water from the cell will move out. So the water will move out and the cell will shrink. So in the hypertonic solution, we will see that the cell will shrink. Hypertonic means the cell will shrink and they will lose out the water. That means that inside the cell, they have more water, and outside they have more of solute. So in the water, we have more of salt or the sugar, right? And inside the cell, we have more of water. That's why the cell are losing the water and the cell will shrink. In the hypotonic solution, we will see that the cell will swell up. They will take up the water inside. So in a case of a raisin, right, what happens if we have a raisin which is kind of shrink, right? If we add it into the water, after some time, what we will see, they will swell up. So that's the hypotonic solution. And then we have the isotonic solution, where we'll see the equal movement of the molecules. So this is really very important for all of us to understand. It's a very important concept which is usually asked in the examination. Also, please do remember this. So that's about the cell membrane. One of the important thing about the cell membrane is that the cell membrane is made up of the phospholipids. It has a bilayer of it. Now, moving ahead, let's talk about the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is the fluid, it's jelly-like constituent, and of course, it has all the cell organelles are floating into it. And of course, various biochemical reactions takes place in the cytoplasm. Moving further, we have the cell organelles. So we're starting with the nucleus. Now, nucleus is also called as the center of the cell or the brain of the cell because it contains the genetic material. All the important functions, right? All the important activities are controlled by the nucleus. Nucleus has a nuclear membrane. Over here, it has the nuclear envelope or the nuclear membrane. Inside it, we have the nucleoplasm. Then, of course, at the center, we have the nucleolus, which plays a very important role in the synthesis of RNA, right? Or ribosomes, right? And we know that these ribosomes are present on the ER that actually help in the synthesis of protein. Inside the nucleoplasm, we have the thread-like structure which are called as the chromatin. The chromatin are made up of the DNA and the protein. When they condense together, they form a very interesting and super important structure that we only see during the cell division, and that we call them as the chromosome. And when we untangle them or when we unwind them, we'll be able to see the structure which is DNA, that is the genetic material in majority of the living organism. Very, very important. Now, the full form of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, and that is the genetic material that we humans have. That's all about the nucleus. Moving ahead to the next one, of course, we have the mitochondria. Mitochondria is called as a powerhouse of the cell. It is where we'll see the synthesis of ATP. This is very important. Do remember that. ATP is synthesized in the mitochondria, and ATP is called as the energy currency of the cell. Mitochondria has two layers right over here. They have inner membrane and outer membrane. They have their own DNA and, of course, their ribosome. That doesn't mean that they can produce their own proteins. Further, let's talk about a very important organelle which is very close to the nucleus, that is the ER. We have two different types of ER when we talk about. We have smooth ER and rough ER. RER, that is a rough ER, endoplasmic reticulum, have ribosomes, and they actually help in the synthesis of protein. Then we have of course the smooth ER, right, SER. They don't have these ribosomes, right? And ribosomes are over here. And of course, we have the smooth ER, and which does not have the ribosomes, and they actually help in the synthesis of lipids. Now, both the lipids and the proteins comes together and help in the very important process called as a membrane biogenesis that actually help in the manufacturing of the plasma membrane. Talking about the manufacturing, right, the molecules, the protein and the lipids that are coming from the ER has to come to a unit where it gets packed and moved to a different part of the cells. And that is a very important role performed by the important organelle, which is the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus plays a very important role and also called as a postman of the cell. It receives the packages from the ER, it packs them, modifies them, store them, and then help with the transportation to different parts of the cell. After that, we have a very important organelle which has actually been made by the Golgi apparatus, and we call it as the lysosomes. Now, lysosomes are also called as the digestive sac bags, right? Because they have the digestive enzymes, and they actually keep a check on the Wohnert cells, or if any of the organisms or something is not working correctly with the cells, these enzymes will take care of it. Lysosomes are also called as the side bags of the cells because of a very special reason. Just in case if the cell is not working fine, and if the cell there's something wrong with the cell, these lysosomes will release their digestive juices, which will end up taking the life of the cell. That is the reason we call lysosomes as the side bags of the cell. Very important question. Moving further, let's quickly talk about the plastid. Now, plastids are only present in the plant cells, and we have different types of plastids altogether. We have chloroplast, which have the green color pigment. We have chromoplast, which have the various reddish, yellowish color pigment, and then we have the leucoplast, which does not have a pigment, actually help in the storage of the oil, starch. Plastid is also called as the kitchen of the cell. Chloroplast, remember that chloroplast is called as the kitchen of the cell. Moving further, let's talk about the vacuole. Now, vacuole is a very, very important storage sac structure that is present both in the plant cells and in the animal cell. In plant cells, definitely it occupies much larger space, and in animal cells, it occupies a very small space. In plant cells, we'll have one very huge vacuole, whereas in the animal cells, we'll have small, many vacuoles. But that's a very important role of this. Then moving further, let's talk about one of the important part that we have, that is the cell wall. The cell wall is freely permeable. That means that it allows all the molecules to pass through it. Cell wall is very much rigid, provides the rigidity to the plant cells, and cell wall is only present in the plant cells and not in the animal cells. So that's all about the important organelles. Moving further, we have very, very important thing, which is the end or the last part of this chapter, that is the cell division. Now, we have two types of cell division that we have mentioned in our book, which is mitosis and meiosis. In mitosis, we see that the cells will be producing the exact copy of themselves. So if we have one cell that is producing the two daughter cells, and of course they will be the identical copies, we have that in our body, in our skin cells and different other parts where we see the continuous repair. Then we have meiosis, which happens in the germ cells, right, such as ovum or the sperm. In the meiosis, the daughter cells that are usually formed have half the number of the chromosome as of the parent cell. Now, we have these two important cell division that we have in our syllabus. We'll be learning more about them in detail in the upcoming classes, right? And in your higher studies. So with this, we talk about, we have studied the whole chapter in just under 15 minutes. So I hope that you've enjoyed this session. Please make sure to hit the like button for the video. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Please do write in the comment section and do let us know if you have enjoyed this video. We'll be meeting really very soon. On that note, do take care of yourself and keep on learning with BYJU'S. Bye-bye.